For my latest project, I'm going to turn this old 12-inch bike into a kite fishing or Kontiki reel. It was my kids' bike. They've outgrown it. It's been left out in the weather and seats rotten. The tyres are basically, I don't know how they're not flat. Lots of bearings are running horribly. So it wasn't really worth giving away. So I'm just going to chop it up and have a bit of a play, see what we can come up with. I've got no plan as such, and I haven't been able to find any other plans or attempts at this, so I'm just going to wing it, see what we come up with. Enjoy. So the bike's pulled apart. I've got the wheels off. This is the hub that I'm going to use. It's the drive. It's going to be a pedal powered reel. I was thinking about a motor, but I think pedal power is just lighter. The last motorized reel I built was too heavy to take down the beach. I've got a spare wheel here for another bike. I'm going to leave these spokes on just so the rim is centered. I'm going to put this one on. I want to weld it to that ring of that hub, that blue ring. But I would have used a white one, but it's sitting too far out at the moment. So I'm going to sit this one on. I'm going to cut the bulk of this off and just leave that face, so it'll be a smooth face facing inwards. And I'm going to space it out so it sits up about in line with that rim of the hub. And then I'll tape it together, and I'm going to tack weld some metal rod from the rim of the hub out to the rim of the wheel on the inside, because most of this will be cut off. You'll see the exposed part of that, so it's going to sit on that and weld onto that, and will work like spokes. It'll just be taped on to be centered. I'll show you what I mean once I'm finished. I'll just cut this all, you don't have to sit through me cutting it. Alright, so I've cut the bulk of the rim off, and I've just got the outside edge left. That's the old bit. I found it's easier to cut from the inside than trying to cut from the outside because my cutting disc didn't want to reach properly, and so I just cut from the inside of the rim around. Easy. So that's what's left. You can see I've spaced it out, so it's basically sitting in line with the hub. That blue rim of the hub. And then I've got this 6mm square rod. It's quite a long bit, it's quite good. It came out of a blind mechanism. I'm going to use that to make probably about 5 or 6 spokes to run from that blue hub to the rim. This is basically what I'm going for. 5 spokes from the hub to the rim. She's all welded together. I'm about to cut the rest of the spokes off. I had to cut a couple off just so they weren't getting welded on. I'm about to cut the rest off, and then this old white rim should drop away, and we're just left with the black outside of the rim and 5 spokes. Okay, so the rim is cut off, all the spokes are cut. I've dummy fit it just so you can see what I'm going for. So the flat side, the smooth side, is facing in. So when line is pulled in, it's going to wrap around a new bar that's going to be longer and on there. The rough side's on the back, so it doesn't really matter. It'll be tidied up and painted, but yeah, a nice smooth rounded edge is on the inside. So that's where the line will be pulled on. I'm basically going to cut the frame there. Cut that piece off. I'll keep this half, so that will still be bolted onto there. The pedals will still be attached, but this half will come off, and I'll basically just widen it up to, I don't know, maybe 25-30 centimeters, and then I'll put some sort of bearing at the end and another one of these to stop, and then you got 2 ends to the reel and pedal powered. And then I'll make some sort of level wind attachment so that it spools up nice and evenly. And then I'll make some sort of seat, and then I've got a pedal powered reel. I've trimmed off a lot of the excess metal bits. I've left that one half that's going to hold the axle. I've realised I can chuck a rod into the seat hole. I'm going to weld it in place. I was thinking of making this a seated rail where you pedal with your feet, but I'm thinking now I'll just chuck a spike in it that I can stab into the sand and just crank it in with my hands. It's all just trial and error, so I'll see how it goes. Alright, so I blasted a coat of etch primer onto the rim. I've had to cut off this arm that was sticking out. I used to bolt to the frame, stop it from spinning. I'm not sure if it's essential, so I guess I'm going to find out the hard way. But I needed to get that off so I could fit this over there. That's to widen my reel, the drum basically. This is a piece of a trampoline. And that rod is a bit of a clothesline, obviously. And that's an old bike. So obviously using all scrap metal for this. The next job is going to be cut most of this off. I'm thinking I might leave one hole. I might drill it a bit bigger, just so I can tie the initial line onto that. But the rest of this will be cut off. That will be welded in place. It's about the same, well, maybe a little bit thicker than the centre of that hub. And then I've made up a bearing on a rod. The bearing basically fits the shaft pretty much bang on. So we'll tack weld that onto there, and then that will be sitting out about there. I'm going to cut this bar on an angle and make a little frame going down and across to join up to that. But it's got to stay out of the way of the pedals as well. And then I'm basically done, and then I'll just be painting. I've still got to make a second one of these to go on the other end. But yeah, basically just painting after that and it should be done. Just a quick update. I'm just making a point similar to this. This is an old rod holder I made a while back. I cut triangles out of the original rod and then just crushed it in, welded it together. So I'm doing the same here. So I've cut this to, it's about 6 foot now. Yeah, so I've cut a triangle on each side, and then I've put a little split at the top, so I can easily round it off. And then I'll put maybe like a little thread from a bolt or something in the end, so I can tack that in. Basically just going to use vice grips, crush that a bit so it rounds, and then crush them together, and then just weld that seam. And I should end up with a point. That's it ground back, ready to paint. It's not a sharp spike because it doesn't need to be, it's only going into sand. But yeah, it's closed in so salt water's not going to get inside and rust it from the inside out. I think it'll be fine. I'll put a foot peg on it so I can push it down with my foot. And maybe a fin to stop it from dragging in the sand, falling over when there's a bit of fish pulling on it. This is the latest piece of the puzzle. I've welded on the drum part of the reel onto a bearing. I made a right angle. Nice tidy welds again. But it is actually quite a nice right angle. It spins. Actually, I don't know if I can spin it with one hand. We'll see. Yeah. So that works fine. That's going to slot over this. I was going to put the line through that hole and have this sit on it and weld that onto there, but I've decided I'm going to cut that off, cut the rest of this off and slide it right down onto there. I think that's a big enough reel anyway. And then it'll all be one solid piece and look tidier. I can just feed the line through that hole that the spring for the trampoline used to be in. Just tie it on there to start with. I only tack welded it to the bearing because I didn't want to warp the bearing at all. It still spins fine, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, I'm just going to knock that piece off with that hole off of there. Slot that over, weld this to there. And then I can just make up some sort of frame to get this bar onto that bar. And then I still need to make a side for this end to stop the line from falling off, and she's basically done. And just prime and paint. Starting to come together. So you've got your spike that'll be stabbed into the sand, and then this bar will be cut off and it'll come across to this bar. That'll be a solid frame, and then it just needs one of these on this end. And that sounds real. Now the reason I've gone with this bike, the kid's bike, is it's got a brake hub. So I can leave it halfway, the line can pull out freely. So Kite or Kontiki or whatever can pull it out. Then when I want to stop going out, I can put the brakes on, and then it won't move. And then when I need to pull it in, just wind it in. Dead easy. I'm really happy with that. Alright, this is where it's up to. I've made it a solid frame now. I'm going to cut the leg off and mount it in the middle, just because when the reel is spooled up and the line's out and there's pull on it with the kite or Kontiki or fish or whatever, it'll be trying to pull around. It'll pull the reel that way, sort of thing. That's my theory anyway. If I have it on the side and it's pulling, it's going to just twist out of the way. Over that way. So if I have it in the centre and the line's pulling out in the middle, should be fine. So that's going to be cut off and welded into there. Before I tacked that on, I made sure I put the rim on just so I can put the spokes on. Otherwise I'd have to maybe cut that to get it on. I didn't want to do that. All in all, I'm quite happy with it. It turns freely. Easy. Just a little rough looking, but luckily I'm good at painting. The reel is basically complete now. I welded on the last spokes onto this side. Just need to do a little bit of rust killing. Maybe grind back some of the beautiful welds. And then etch, prime, paint. I don't know, I might plug up that hole. I don't really care anymore. I centered that bar. It looks a bit lopsided. That's because this part here actually has a natural curve to it. Yeah, so that doesn't sit flat, sort of thing, with the drum, but that's fine. It functions as it should. It's all done. That's the reel, painted, ready to go. I've got some line sitting at my parents' place waiting to go on it. I've got 1,000 metres of 170 pound. I've got a kite coming in the mail. For now, I'll leave the video at this. It's probably long enough. If you like and subscribe and just follow along, I'll show you some videos of my kite setup once it's ready, and I'll do some fishing and actually see what we can catch. I've also been given one of the old style Kontikis, the sail Kontiki. I'll show you how that works in another video too. Anyway, thanks for coming along, and we'll see you in the next one.